Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube channel. We're going to run through some, not all, of the big free agency stories today. I promise we will cover them all. I'm going to do 5 videos this week. So we're going to cover all of them. We're just going to focus on the biggest ones from today. We might circle back later. But let's get into our cover player. Not the most biggest profile move, but the one I chose for the cover because I think it's the most actionable. DeAndre Swift signs with the Bears. 3 years, $24 million, $15.3 million guaranteed. Now, for the Bears, I'm okay with it. They need a playmaker at running back to help Caleb Williams. This is a good price. But for Dynasty, I'm not super interested. Miles Sanders had similar success on the Eagles, then signed in a less good offense and busted hard. I'm not saying that Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert are great. They're not. But it's undeniable that Swift faces more competition than he did last year in Kenneth Gainwell and Rashad Penny. Khalil Herbert was way better than Rashad Penny last year. I think Roschon Johnson is a lot better than Kenneth Gainwell. So it's tougher competition. In 2023, DeAndre Swift, 229 carries, 1,049 yards, 5 touchdowns, 39 catches, 214 yards, touchdown. He still averaged just 12.5 fantasy points per game, 24th among running backs. Yeah, I don't see the value. If anything, my valuation seems a little bit too high. I'd still have him RB17 before, now RB18, but he's not in a range that I have any interest. He's a hard sell for me. He's 25 years old. This is your chance. When a player signs a big deal in free agency, it's your chance to get out on the hype. If the actual facts, which for DeAndre Swift are bad, are not good. Additionally, it's not like Caleb Williams is a dump-off artist. He barely used running backs in 2023 at USC. Nothing about this is great, except the money. So while people are fixated on that, take your opportunity, make the sale while it's focused on the positives before people start breaking down the negatives. So that's kind of my take on DeAndre Swift, 25 years old, this year, last chance. I would get out now. Now, Saquon Barkley signed the biggest deal in free agency, at least per year, and the most guarantees. 3 years, $37.5 million, up to $46 million with incentives. It's a big deal. $26 million fully guaranteed. Giants weren't going to give him that deal. So congrats to Saquon for getting his money. Now, some might say, we're just talking about the Eagles tangentially. Some might say they're worried about the receiving production. But the problem with the Giants was that Daniel Jones didn't throw to the running back either. He only had 41 catches and 280 yards in 14 games. Not that the Eagles had a lot of receiving production, but between Gainwell and Swift, they had more than this. So if Saquon is really going to be used as a workhorse, I think he can actually improve the receiving production. Is it the best spot for Saquon Barkley? No. Something like the Chargers or the Texans with a pass-first quarterback who does not vulture goal line carries would have been a far better spot, especially the Chargers. That was the dream spot. We all wanted that one. But the money's bigger than I expected. If you want to sell Barkley, it's the best chance you'll get. But I've heard a lot of negatives about this signing. A lot of people are not excited for some reason about the Eagle spot. Maybe it's the receiving usage. Maybe it's the goal line vulturing. For some reason, people aren't that high on this, which is fair. So I had him RB10 before. I have him RB10 now. I think he will be usable. Do I ever want to draft 27-year-old running backs at a high-end price? Unless your name is Christian McCaffrey, who has been, elite of elite for years, then maybe, but otherwise, no. Saquon Barkley has not been an elite fantasy asset since his rookie year. I don't think that's going to become the case now. So I think he'll be good. He'll be usable. You'll get 2 years out of him. That's what you're buying. RB10, good price. No change in his value. Now, this is the big one. This is the big one. Not that it was a surprise, because I've been saying this is going to happen for 2 months, that Kirk Cousins is going to sign with the Falcons. I was adamant that this was going to happen. I was beyond sure. And now it happened. We have the deal. It's not the structure I imagined, though. 4 years, $180 million 100 million guaranteed, but it's essentially a 2-year deal with guarantees. So it is kind of like the structure, except Cousins was actually kind to the Falcons. He gave them essentially team options for 2026 and 2027 at the $45 million price. This was the highest stakes dynasty move of them all, but not for Cousins himself. Both sets of weapons are great. He left a great set of weapons. He's going to a great set of weapons on a great offense. Quarterback 20 before, quarterback 20 now. No change for Kirk Cousins. However, the weapons had a lot at stake, and the Vikings' path to getting a new quarterback is closing. Russell Wilson's gone. Gardner Minshew just signed with the Raiders, apparently. So we're not going to have a good quarterback this year on the Vikings. That is not going to happen. The options are bleak. So what that means is players have to move down. Justin Jefferson, dynasty value. He has lost his position as wide receiver 1. He's just not wide receiver 1 anymore. Because if he has Trey Lance at quarterback, he's not going to be a top 5 receiver. He's not. That's not going to happen. So he's now wide receiver 3. I'm not moving him down out of the tier, but I have Chase and Lamb ahead of him. Jordan Addison, dynasty value, down 2 spots. Wide receiver 17 to wide receiver 19. And depending on who that quarterback is, I might move him down more. Justin Jefferson's going to eat no matter what. Elite wide receivers like that always succeed. But ancillary pieces like Jordan Addison, they might not. So if it's really bad, whoever the quarterback is, I might move him down more. But, well, they still have a possibility of getting someone okay. And then TJ Hawkinson, tight end 5, tight end 6. Now, that might only look like it's 1 spot, but it was 10, 15 overall spots. It's way down. The injury, now lack of quarterback. There isn't going to be another quarterback who just appears out of thin air who can support these 3 weapons. So he's the biggest loser to me. So maybe in all of free agency today, tight ends, running backs we'll get to might be on that list. We'll see. But yeah, Hawkinson, big loser. In contrast, the Falcons' weapons hit the jackpot. Although pretty much for the last 3 weeks, I've had this priced in. This is what I expected to happen. London, wide receiver 11. I feel very comfortable with that price now. Pitts, moved him ahead of Hawkinson and up a couple of spots. Tight end 6 to tight end 5. But I think that there's a legitimate chance that the Falcons add a weapon at 8 overall to make this a star-studded offense. Could it be Rome Odunze there? I'm not going insane on the weapons yet. But we know that Kirk Cousins just supported Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. None of these players are Justin Jefferson. So he could support Rome Odunze, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. It's the Rams offense. They've done that before. These are good players. So even if they draft someone at 8, I'm not going to lower them that much. But Kirk Cousins, ooh, I might love him. Now, next news. This had nothing to do with free agency. It just feels like this has kind of come to a head. T. Higgins wants a new deal. It's pretty simple. I think he likes being in Cincinnati. I don't think he has any problem being there. But they don't plan to extend him. There have been no negotiations since March of 2023. And I get it. They need to commit bigger money to Jamar Chase starting in 2025 on his 5th-year option, then extension. Joe Burrow's extension is starting to kick in. Higgins is a tough case. Is he worth a long-term deal? Yes, probably. Is it worth a team to pay a late 1st or 2nd round pick and give him a long-term deal? Probably not. That's what happened for A.J. Brown. I don't think so. I don't think teams are going to be lining up to do that. If it costs a 3rd round pick, maybe. I don't think any team's giving up a 1st round pick for the honor of paying T. Higgins 23, 24 million a year. That's not going to happen. So most destinations are a downgrade for Higgins, even if he's the nominal wide receiver 1 there. The Panthers scream out as a destination. For me, I lowered his dynasty value 3 spots, but I didn't lower him that much overall. It's just the 3 spots. It's in a range of a lot of wide receivers. I think people get very scared in these spots. They say, oh, he's going to hold out. Oh, he's not going to play. It almost never happens. It almost never happens. It's very rare. So if people are just done with T. Higgins, people hate T. Higgins. He goes out early. There was this incident, that incident. You know, it's a very small sample size of incidents, a lot of sample size of good play. People hate T. Higgins for no reason. He will be a buy for me. I talked about him on a buy as a recent episode on here. And I also talked about Andre Yoshivash as a stash. Stand by that today. He should be rostered in every dynasty league if somehow he's not. But if you can get T. Higgins for a 110, 111 pick, I would do that. He is a buy for me, not a sell. So that's what I would say is actionable about this. We're going to get to a couple more here, and we'll run through them a little faster. 3 more I think I want to do. So Tony Pollard signed with the Titans. 3 years, $24 million. Exact guarantees were unclear. I don't know that yet, but I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. This signing is stupid. It is a horrible signing. It is the worst signing of the fantasy relevant players in free agency. It makes no sense at all. None. Why not just keep Derrick Henry? It was working just fine. Why not keep Derrick Henry? I didn't see that Tony Pollard was a more effective player in 2023 than Derrick Henry. I disagree with that assessment. He slipped to 4 yards per carry in 2023. He looked bad. He's already 27 years old. I don't get the Pollard Spears backfield compliment at all. Explain it to me. I see a lot of overlap. I don't see complementary skill sets there at all. It's fantasy disaster. In Dynasty, I dropped Spears 2 spots, but over a round of overall value, he's not in the same tier as he was. RB17. He still has youth, but it's brutal. Tony Pollard, this is a disastrous landing spot. I was hoping he'd go back to Dallas. I dropped him down to RB25, also over a round of value. I can tell you that I will not be interested in these players. Some people are continuing to hype both of them up. I'll be totally uninterested. I will not be rostering these guys. I do not want Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears at what they're going to cost, because you're going to have to pay the truth or price for both. And I would like to pay the cheap price for either. And I don't think that's going to happen. So not interested. And I don't think either is going to be in my top 25 for redraft. Just no interest in this backfield. Packers, they made a big move. They signed Josh Jacobs and released Aaron Jones. Big moves from the Packers today. Jacobs, 4 years, $48 million. A lot of that's funny money. I think the guarantees were like $13 million from what I might have seen. Jones refused to take a pay cut. He was released. There's a lot of interest in him. Won't speculate, but I think he's going to be signed maybe by tomorrow's video. We talk about that. Jacobs is one of the biggest winners in free agency, if not the biggest. He is the clear workhorse starter here. They're not going to bring back A.J. Dillon. Jones is already gone. They might draft someone, but it's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. This draft class is weak. Jacobs is the biggest winner of free agency. I was scared he wouldn't get a real contract. He got a real contract. He is the workhorse this year. I moved him up. It's rare to move an older running back up from RB14 to RB11. I think you can fully rely on Josh Jacobs for this year. Jordan Love is commanding a great offense. I'm fine with having him. So yeah, RB11, only 26. A lot of people think Josh Jacobs is older than he is. As for Aaron Jones, no change to his dynasty value. Yeah, he was cut. We'll see. If he doesn't sign in the next couple of days, I'm going to get very worried. I heard there was a lot of interest, so we'll let that play out. Last one that we're going to talk about. Russell Wilson signed with the Steelers. This happened last night. I expected this. The Steelers, this is what I predicted the whole time. Steelers need a quarterback badly. Kenny Pickett, not it. 63% completion, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 6.2 yards per attempt in 2022. 2023, basically the same numbers, no real improvement. Russell Wilson was better in all categories in 2022, except the completion percentage, but he made up for that in yards per attempt. 2023, last year, better across the board. 26 touchdowns is double what Pickett had combined in both seasons. Just 8 interceptions, 6.9 yards per attempt, better than either of Pickett's efforts. No question for me that Wilson is the starter. Didn't move him in Dynasty. This is exactly what I expected to happen 1 year deal with the Steelers. QB 24. No change for him. He has a chance to grind out a couple more years as a starter, but he's on his last strike. If he flops here, he will not be a starter in 2025. So he's kind of in that speculative starter range, quarterback 24 for me. Pickett, I moved him to the backup range, quarterback 30 without even the rookies coming in yet. He'll be out of the top 35 by that point. I don't even like him as much as some other backups because he has no fantasy upside. He has 13 touchdowns in his career. So Kenny Pickett doesn't interest me. As for the Steelers wide receivers, kind of what I expected, but it's a slight boost. George Pickens can kind of squint and see what Wilson did with Cortland Sutton last year and get a little excited. And I do think that this means that Deontay Johnson is slightly more likely to stay. Kept him at wide receiver 36. I'm not sure staying was a good thing. If you told me he could be traded to the Chiefs, I would much rather that. But the one thing I think is interesting, Pat Fryermuth, Russell Wilson has a history of getting tight ends involved. We know in Seattle, he got a lot of different tight ends involved. He had Greg Dulcich involved heavily as a rookie in 2022. I think Pat Fryermuth, especially at this stage of Wilson's career where he can't scramble as much, is going to be a good check down option. We know Arthur Smith loves tight ends. So, Pat Fryermuth, I think someone we should keep an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a good beneficiary of Russell Wilson, because we know that Pat Fryermuth did nothing with Kenny Pickett. But anyway, that's going to be the end of today's show. I promise we will cover every signing. Will get coverage. Promise you that. Every single one, even the small ones. We're going to be back tomorrow with another video. We're going to be back on Wednesday with another one on Thursday, and then we'll close it out on Friday. 5 days of content. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That's the best way to support the YouTube channel directly. If you want to support my content, the best way to do that, sign up for that Patreon, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. It's the only place where you'll be able to see where I have these players ranked in Dynasty. Additionally, you can discuss things in the Patreon Discord. It's blowing up today. Big discussions about fantasy, Dynasty, whatever you want, real life. We're talking about it all on the Patreon Discord. That is available at a $6 a month price. But I enjoyed doing this video. I'm going to get back into the rankings lab, and I'll see you all later. Peace out.